It's called Take It Outside. So although we take children here at 2, we don't run the program for them until they're at least 3. So they can be out of diapers at a minimum, yeah. Well, it started just through multiple conversations around folks from my generation growing up outside. So we had, back then we had small families, or small houses, big families, and the mantra was get outside and play. Not a lot of toys, certainly nothing digital. So we had one black and white TV in the house and 2 channels. So outside was where we went. And so we talked a lot about what children learn from that. So without toys, children learn that, a stick can be a magic wand, it can be a sword, you can use it to build. So it instills creativity. And so we just decided that the kids here are surrounded by too much plastic. And thankfully, through a grant with Public Health Agency Canada, they let us take this idea and run with it. So, yeah, so just a whole lot of talking about what we thought the benefits of being outdoors would be, especially for Indigenous children. For every child, but especially for Indigenous children. Well, we took the time to put in place some really critical training for the staff. So because we're dealing with a really young age, so there's a multitude of outdoor education programs that exist now for school age kids, but not much for preschoolers. So we knew that this is, so we didn't have a lot to draw from, so we had to build it on our own, realizing that these are children that may not have a lot of language, and that they're very young, so we had to make sure that the staff were well trained in what they would need to take these kids outside. So, dressing properly, and if a child doesn't have a lot of language, how do you recognize when a child is cold? So we had training around, what do they call it when they have to do a site assessment, risk assessment, wherever they take the kids. They have, because here we're licensed, so it's well inspected, it's well set up, but outdoors there could be syringes, there could be, because we're taking them to the woods, could be anything where folks go hang around. It's a public park, city park. So we had to get them well trained on that. So that was, and we put a lot of time and energy into that to make sure that they were well trained. And then the other piece was getting buy-in from the parents. So that took a little bit of work, was to get the parents to think about it in a way that they're still going to be learning, but they're just going to be doing that learning outside. So that was another big piece that was significant. Oh my goodness, watching these kids become stronger physically, so literally building muscles in their little arms and legs so they can pull themselves up a tree. Watching them solve some pretty significant problems that they would run into outdoors that they wouldn't run into in the park, in their little playground, and working it out. And then watching them educate their parents on the importance of being dressed properly when you're outside and finding a shady place so you don't get over hot. So that was, and then the language learning was another big significant piece that came as a bonus to the program and unexpectedly. So what the girls realized was that everything outdoors, there's already language around it that has existed since our people have been here. Not so much for all the things indoors. So when they were trying to teach the language, they would have to stop and think about, how do you translate this from English to Maliseet, or how do you translate this from English to Maliseet, and that. So that was a really exciting, significant piece where we realized we were doing a good thing. So it was easier for the educators to teach these children language and culture, and getting them connected to the land is also very much a big piece of who we are, Indigenous people, and appreciating the environment as it is. It is all of that. So it is connecting us with who we really are, and who we really are is in the language, and then getting folks back out on the land and connected to the land, because that was really our first and original educator, was Mother Earth. That every child could have access to this outdoor education program, from 0 till whenever, till they don't want to be outdoors anymore. So that would be amazing to be able to deliver this program, take kids out of school, at a mainstream school, and have them participate in a program like this, right up to the high school. Would be so amazing. Well-trained staff, so, and the support of the city. So we were very fortunate that the city of Fredericton partnered with us on this, and that was significant because we're using city parks. So we use Odell Park, and we also use Killarney. So they created a beautiful space for us. Without their help, we wouldn't have had it. And they look after it for us. So if there's anything that the girls need over in that space, we have a contact person with the city, and say, listen, there's a tree that's looks like it's dangerously close to following. They will go immediately and cut it down, and they created firewood for us so we can have a fire pit. Those were really significant pieces to have really good partnerships, and we partnered with. What is the name of that organization? Botanical Gardens, and they have a resource center over there at Odell, and they let us use it. So rather than dragging all of our equipment from here to there, they allow us to store all of our equipment in their little resource room in the basement. So that was another big significant piece. So having the support of community, our community, but also the city and other interested organizations is really, really important.